Welcome back. I'm Conley Woods. This is TCGplayer.com. We are bringing you the second ever after brew. This one I'm more skeptical of, but I wanted to give it a shot because it looks fun. So this one is Elven after, because it is an elf deck. Yeah, you got it. We took the synergies to an extreme. I'm not trying out anything like Collected Company, which is a natural place to go for an elf deck. At the same time, not going collected company means I get to put more 4 drops and 5 drops in my deck, so that made me happy. So I just ignored that completely. I ignored most non-elf creatures, and I just went elves to the wall. No, all right. We have pretty simple mana base: black green, basics, hissing quagmires. 2 copies of Foul Orchard. It's lame, but it's whatever. It's better than Evolving Wilds because you could change up what color mana it taps for on every turn. Llanowar Wastes, Swamps, 1 Westvale Abbey, mostly because I have one, and I don't actually want this card in the deck very much, I don't think, but I'm willing to try one out. That's probably all I would be willing to try out anyway, since colorless mana doesn't do anything for us. But occasionally, we might have 5 creatures in play thanks to the elite here, so I'm willing to give this guy a shot. Because I can see a situation where we ever after back 2 elites and we get 4 creatures. We already have something in play, and then next turn we get this thing or something. So I'm willing to give this card as a shot as a one of, although I am not too excited by it. Also worth noting, we do have the 4 Hissing Quagmires, which do combo with our Advocates, which is also an elf. I know it's kind of a weird card to be an elf, but it is. I guess it's not that weird. It's like pretty standard. All right, let's get to the deck. It's pretty simple. This one's pretty straightforward. Not going to be nearly as complex as the last one. We're playing elves. So we got Gnarlroot Trapper, which, if this card did this stuff in standard for any deck, it would be broken. Like, tap, pay 1 life, add a green to your mana pool. If it could be spent on any spell, and then tap, target attacking creature against Death Touch. Like, this card would be very, very strong. Everybody would play it, or every black deck would play it. Obviously, restricting it to just elves is a huge downside, but again, we went elves to the wall. 32 creatures here. Every single one in the deck is an elf. So the only thing we are not casting with Gnarlroot Trapper in this entire deck is our most expensive card, awkwardly, in Ever After. But this thing still provides a ton of utility with the Death Touch ability, a ton of acceleration, and it's the best possible thing we can open on turn 1. It's our only 1-drop, so we can't do it too reliably, but we'll see if we can get there. 2 drops. We got our best opener is probably Gnarlroot Trapper into Elite here, which is a 1/1 attacking on turn 2 and a 2/2 and a 1/1 on turn 2, which is pretty nice. Alternatively, Trapper, Elite is pretty sick, and then you can like win over on turn 3. But anyway, so we have Elite, make a bunch of elf tokens, primarily good with Shaman and Dane here. I've been calling her Dane. I don't know if that's actually how you pronounce it. I hope it is. Guiltleaf Dane. I think it's Dane. I don't know. It's Dwynnin is her name, but I think that last thing, I don't know. It's a weird word. Because Dane, like the country, the E and the A would be switched, so maybe it's down. I don't know. All right, we're just going to move on. We have Elvish Visionary here. Straightforward, cantripping, blocking stuff. Occasionally overturn this with Ever After draw cards if you have to. Sylvan Advocate. Straightforward. You definitely return this in the late game, especially if you have multiple Quagmires out. Shaman of the Pack. This is probably the primary card you want to be getting back with your Ever Afters to kill your opponent, drain them out, do a bunch of damage. It's the card I'm most excited about playing, and yeah, we're gonna see how it goes. I don't know, but it's all elves all the time, so we'll keep our eye on this one because he's kind of the reason we're playing this deck. Silver Messenger, another reason we're playing this deck. You might have not even realized this was in standard until I just moused over it right now. True or false? True or false? Some number you had no idea. Alright, but for those of you that did, this is a card you might think of in like broken, potentially modern decks or old extended decks or old legacy decks or whatever. It has a huge impact. Obviously, it's Goblin Recruiter. No, Goblin Recruiter is the banned one. What is the Goblin? It's got haste. It's 4 mana. I don't even know what the card is, but you know what I'm talking about. The one that's played in Goblins. Why can I not think of the name? Goblin. Wait, I'm just gonna type this text box in. Real. It's definitely not standard though. Uncheck that. Oh, I'm done. All right, I'm done. I'm done. You can't uncheck filter. What you can't uncheck? Who builds that? All right, I'll just go on not knowing. Some people are yelling at the screen. That's fine. I'm immediately gonna go look it up as soon as I get off here. But you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, this card with 32 elves in your deck is likely to draw you, 2+ elves per hit, which is awesome. That is like a crazy powerful card for 4 mana. Draw 2 cards, put a 2/2 trample into play. That makes it a viable target for Ever After, because Ever After now draws you cards with this or Elvish Visionary. So, for example, a simple pile of Sylvan Messenger Elvish Visionary can just draw you 3 cards plus put 2 bodies into play. For 6 mana, that's a pretty decent deal, and that's like a very simple pile, as I was saying. Like if you increase that to double Shaman in the back and kill them, or double Sylvan Messenger, or Guiltleaf Winnower plus Sylvan Messenger, or Dwynnin plus Sylvan Messenger, or any of that combination, you just things get crazy. So Sylvan Messenger, I think, is pretty important to the deck, and one of the reasons that you want to be all in on elves. So yeah, giving this a shot. I don't know how often Trample's going to matter, because this is basically always a 2/2 minus when Dwynnin is out, and because Dwynnin is legendary, obviously only can ever be a 3/3, but it does have trample. Could matter. Dwynnin, I have 4 in here, even though it's a legend, just because I think having one of this out is important enough. 3/4 reach is a big creature for an elf, so that's reasonable as is. And then the +1/+1 ability is huge. We have quite a bit of token making, quite a bit of guys that'll likely sneak in some extra damage. Plus, against an opposing aggro deck, getting 1 attack in with this can just like completely change the race, because you're going to be applying a ton of damage towards them and gaining a bunch of health back, maybe 3 or 4 health, and that could just be enough to win you the game. Also, but reach is pretty nice. This blocks Mantis Rider, for example, that kind of stuff. Obviously, Mantis Rider's rotated, but you know what I'm saying, like that type of aggressive creature coming at your face. The turn you play it, which is really nice, just because most of your creatures, when the turn you play it, like 3/2, it can block, but it's going to die. 4/3, it's probably going to die if it blocks. Sylvan Advocate, I guess, can block pretty well, so that's an exception. And then this gives Death Touch on attacking, but usually on defense, you're pretty bad. You're chump blocking with 1/1s, or you're chump blocking with tokens, and she's like the one real legitimate block you have outside of Sylvan Advocate, which I did forget about. So yeah, pretty excited to try her out. Obviously, now a lot of decks have played her. Guiltleaf Winnower, another solid creature to return with Ever After. It's a 5-mana card, so it's an actual card worthy of your 6 mana Zombify. Outside of synergy, kills a bunch of stuff. It can't kill any of your things ever, because there is no non-elf in your deck, so you can only ever target opponents' things if that ever matters. Menace is pretty big, just because this is one of the bigger creatures in your deck, so it occupying 2 blockers at once is a pretty big deal. Yeah, it is your one lone source of removal, so use it wisely. That's all I gotta say about that. Sideboard, pretty boring. 4 Duress, 3 Fleshbag Marauder, couple Minister of Pain for the mirrors, a Pick the Brain as the 5th Duress. I don't expect to get Delirium. 3 Kalidas, a Caustic Caterpillar, and a Conclave Naturalist. Pretty boring, pretty straightforward. Yeah, that is that. As I said, this deck is not nearly as crazy as the last one. It's not going to do any super big plays, but it is elves, and I wanted to give it a shot because it looks fun. So let's take this one for a spin. We'll be right back with round 1, game 1 here momentarily. I'm Conley Woods. This is TCGplayer.com. Elven After. Be right back.